Hello and good morning. This is Andy McCann, your host here on Food, Fitness, and Finance, where I am trying to help you lay a firm foundation in those three areas. So I am going to go through a couple things with you. We have got some events that we're doing at the gym. I got an event that I just did, DnD in a Castle. And then the big topic is wrapping all that stuff together in the epidemic of loneliness and connection. So if you want to have a nice long life and you want that life to be functional, like I can move and do the things I need to do as I get older, then you need to follow these 5 basic principles or adjust these 5 basic things. Actually, I usually add in the 6th one. It's how you eat, sleep, move, think, and connect. And then, of course, you need wealth. So on that connection, I have been diving into this one. I don't know if it's uniquely because I'm in my 50s or if I'm semi-retired or... I don't know. Many times as an engineer, as I've grown up, as, just the person that's inside my head, I will put pieces together and see a problem before it's a problem. Sometimes that's super useful. Other times it's very annoying because people are like, I don't think that's an issue. Then it turns out to be an issue. So is it prophetic? No, by no means. It's just looking at the context clues and saying, hey, I think these two people are really fighting or whatever. We should talk to them. Or that thing we're doing is going to cause an issue down the road. We should look at it. Anyway, so I got some life lessons from D&D in a Castle and then some fun stuff that came up that all revolve around connection. In the things we do for our longevity, the immediate things are how we eat and sleep and how we move. Those are the biggest things. Over time, the ones that get us are how we think and how we connect. So the largest killer of men up until they're 50 is suicide and accidents. So how we think, accidents, and connection, suicide, right? And then it flips. If you make it through all of that, when you turn 50, you enter the drop dead years, and it turns into heart attacks and strokes. So basically your blood is unclean, whatever that means. I am on a mission on that one to figure it out as well. All right, so the preamble. I am here in Woodstock, Georgia, and I own CrossFit Garage. Come join the gym. Is that what this podcast is about? Kind of. It has started off, it's just for members, but we go into a lot of other topics, and I am trying to help people live a good life when times are bad, or even if they're not, to steal Jack Spirko's slogan. If you're not in Woodstock and you can't come to the gym, that's totally fine. We do have garagefitness.online, and we're reworking that. We're going to put some stuff right up front to allow you to just start following right away. You can also find us on Facebook, and if you search for CrossFit Garage Woodstock, you'll probably find us, but it's also called thegarage.a CrossFit Gym, because who knew how to name stuff back then? And then on Instagram, we are CrossFit Garage _Woodstock. Okay, so D&D in the Castle. Why do this? Again, I'm semi-retired. I'm looking for avenues to spend my time, my energy, my efforts, and in an environment that makes sense and is interesting to me. And many of you guys are going to get to this point. Where do I want to invest my time and energy? So, I have seen that as I try to pull people together, the ones that I'm very unsuccessful with are where there's massive divergence. So if I have nothing in common, I'm not going to be friendly with them, right? So an easy one would be like a teenage girl. Except for Evie, who is my daughter, I'm not going to be friends with a teenage girl. It's just not going to happen. That's just, it's awkward, and it's just not anything I'm interested in. Now, of course, I'll be friendly and cordial, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to be friends. Okay, so we go to the other side. You would assume the people that you're most friendly with are the people that are most like you, which is not exactly true. For example, I married my wife. She's not exactly like me, though we are similar. My son Evan shares a lot of tendencies with my wife, and he and I spend a lot of time together. Is it because he's a lot like her and I married her? Maybe. Or it could be that he has subtle things that come out that he's a lot like me. I don't know, right? So you end up with people that you enjoy, and how can you identify that? I don't really have the answer for you, but I do know this. If you start with things you like, then at least you're on the right track. So CrossFit Garage brings a lot of people to me that I probably would never meet. They say, hey, I'm interested in health and fitness. You know what? So am I. They're interested in doing hard things. You know what? So am I. And they're interested in investing in themselves. So am I. So it's a pretty good overlapping of interests. And then inside of that, I've been saying, hey, I like Dungeons and Dragons, playing board games, doing adventure racing, like 12 hours in the woods, doing outdoor stuff like mountain biking or skeet shooting at Garland Mountain. I enjoy that stuff. So we're putting it out there. We've got these group me's here that we do. Let's see, it's the CrossFit Garage race and outdoor stuff, the Summer Gamers CrossFit Garage men's group, which I'm not doing great on that. I got to come up with a better way to title that. The men's group is specifically for the epidemic of loneliness. I want better friends. Maybe that's not the way to say it. I want a group of people that bring me up and that I can invest in, and especially men, because it's men's group, we typically don't talk to anybody. We don't have anybody we can call. And you know you're in trouble if you can't call on somebody to either listen or to show up when it's tough. We also have CrossFit Garage Pickleball and some other stuff. Okay. So where are we with this? I'm going to run through some fun things that I did on D&D in a Castle, and then we'll get into the other things. It is unique to go to be a volunteer where they use an app to time track you. So I haven't clocked in to a job in forever. I work all the time because when you work for yourself, you work all the time. And I work in bulk or chunk things up. I like to be super busy when I'm busy, and when I'm not busy, I like to get off of it and do something totally different. So it was a bit of a struggle. I would show up. I was always early because early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. Hold on, coffee time. My coffee tastes like popcorn for some reason. And I haven't had popcorn. Man, I haven't had popcorn in a long time. I was going to say a year, but it's been longer than that. There was a time when I realized that every time I ate popcorn, one of the shell bits would get in my gum or tooth or whatever, and I would spend like a day or two trying to tongue it out, and I couldn't get it with a toothpick or a floss or anything. And so, man, it's probably been 30 years. I decided I'm never going to eat popcorn again because when I eat it, it happens, and I couldn't make it stop. So anyway, my coffee tastes like popcorn. So I volunteered for a couple reasons. One, it's just interesting to me. Two, the guy that was running it was new to that running side of it. He's done a lot with them, but this was his first show. And the girl that normally would run it was going to go over to England to start up one of the D&D in the castles over there. So they were looking for help. And they don't need very many volunteers, so they probably could have done it without me, no problem, or picked up somebody else. But it was interesting to go into a thing that I was very overskilled for. So they had about maybe 50 people playing D&D and another 6 dungeon masters. And so we were hosting them at Loudonville, Ohio, where there's a castle in the Mohican National Forest. And I would say it's more like like an elven castle. It was not what you would think of from England. And I mean, it's an American castle, right? And so I have hosted large events with the Garage Game Series. I think we did one event in the back of the Woodlands neighborhood. That was 1,200 people. So this was going to be pretty easy. And it was. And it was a lot of fun. So I went up there, met the people. They were great. Met the players. They were great. And I'm going to go through some of the things that went through my mind and share some stories. So I will pause you, read it, because I'm not very good at reading out loud. Plus my words may suck. And then I will talk about it. Okay, so this was interesting. I'm not very used to being on a time clock. It's like, hey, show up and let's work until the work is done. And the guy running it was like that. He worked until like 2 a.m. one day and then got up at 8 a.m. the next day to help me after I'd started around 7 a.m. So he was really into it. And his mindset was, let's get it done. I love it. But, we would sit down and they would say, hey, are you clocked in or clocked out? And, I would forget because, again, I haven't clocked in ever. And it's like, oh, well, I forgot to. Let me go ahead and clock in. Or, hey, we're sitting down. Are we in work or should I clock out? And so sometimes it was confusing to me as like what did or didn't consider work because, I mean, if we're going to sit down and eat, then we're talking about work. So does that count as work? And so another one that was kind of funny was, so we're sitting there, me and one of the volunteers, or, I mean, they paid us, so it wasn't, I guess, a volunteer position. So one of the other workers, the staff, let's say that, we're sitting at a table and have a walkie-talkie out. I'm doing some stuff on paper, and she is eating. And the call comes in saying, hey, I need all hands on deck. Come out here. So I look at her. I was like, hey, I'm going to take the golf cart up. Do you want to ride? And she held up her phone and says to me, and shows me the screen and says, I'm still on break. I'm like, okay, well, I guess so. It's baffling to me. With an attitude like that, I'm still on break. And she probably didn't mean it like that, but in my head, in my old manness, that's the way I took it. Like, I'm not going to work. I'm taking a break. That's just weird to me. And so if you go through life with the mindset of I'm on break, you probably won't make it as far as you think you should at work, because we just want shit to get done. That's it. All right, so here's another one. Let's see. So this is a fault of mine. I just didn't really consider the arrangements of the like getting up there. So a month ahead, I said, hey, what are we doing for travel? Just so I'm on the right page. They didn't reply for 2 weeks. And so then I was like, okay, I probably should email them again. So I'm only 2 weeks away from the event. I'm like, hey, I sent this up, but nobody said anything. And they're like, oh, dang, sorry. That email, no one actually ever checks. And you're on your own because we treat you like a local. I'm like, okay, fine. So I kind of forgot that they were going to throw in some pay. And so I was like, okay, well, whatever. If I'm going to travel up there and they're paying me, then I'll just use that to reimburse. So I was going to come out, math-wise, maybe a couple $100 ahead, which, again, isn't a big thing. I'm not there for the money. But that actually comes into a play. I ended up on the negative side because I did a thing for a guy because I could. And good people do good things, not because I have to, but because they want to. And I'll get to that one. So I guess my point there for all of you guys that maybe consider yourself hard workers, but then you're like hardcore breakers, or I don't start work until work says it's time to start. You're probably going to find you're behind the gun and not progressing as much as you want, because the people looking at you are looking for doers, not I just showed up just in casers, whatever that would be. Once again, also, I did realize that I am very not creative, and this was a very creative opportunity. So two of the staffers were pretty creative, so I'd lean on them for their expertise shamelessly. So we would do a thing, and they're like, Andy, do this. And I'd turn to them and say, hey, I am very not good at making this look nice. What suggestions would you have? They would give me a couple suggestions. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick A, or whatever it was, right? And I would do it. And I think they found it interesting that I was totally okay just asking for help and then taking their suggestions and doing them and doing pretty much exactly what they said. And it wasn't, it was through a veil of, I'm not good at this. I should listen to somebody that I've seen demonstrate capabilities in doing these things. And so I just listened to them and I did. I just thought it was interesting watching their expressions as I followed through and whatever it was. And rather than saying, hey, I am literally the oldest or staff person there, and I am not taking the authority. It was kind of funny. A couple of times people would come up to me asking questions as if I knew it was happening because I was the oldest guy. And I'm like, yeah, so it's not me. I'm just here to help. So some of the players, this is an interesting piece as well, that it wasn't just, and there was a lot of this, but it wasn't just 50-year-old engineers coming to play D&D. There was a lot of that, but that's not all it was. There was a family there. There was a girl, a player, who was with her, who was she with, her family or friends? And they came with another player that was with Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I had to go look that back up. But yeah, that's pretty tough. So that means something is wrong, and they're helping fulfill a wish of hers to play D&D in a castle. And to just be able to be part of that probably would have been worth it. Had they said, hey, this is what's happening, I probably would have been like, I'm coming up to help anyway. So it's an interesting place. It's just not what you think it's going to be, a bunch of rich nerds. That's not really what it was. There was a family there with 2 sons, and they had a great time together. And the seats weren't cheap. I think it's like $4,000 a seat for all-inclusive a week of D&D or 4 days or whatever. But still, that's relatively expensive. And these guys love it so much. And they built a bond and a thing together. Like, it was fascinating. Yes, it's all in our head. But I would sit down at the tables as they'd start to show up for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And I would ask the questions like, hey, tell me about your character. And they would get all into it. Tell me the backstory. Tell me what class. Tell me why. And then I started asking them like, hey, tell me when you got a natural 20. That's like a really good roll. What happened? What was epic? And then I started asking, hey, what was epic about the ones you rolled? So if you roll the die, it's a 20-sided die, usually determines how you're going to do something. If you roll a 1, that means it's not going to happen. If you roll a 20, typically that means it happened. And then there's variations in between. And so I'd ask them, and they would get into these things that didn't really happen, but that happened, and they experienced, and their emotions were real. And the connections the players had and the smiles were real, even though the whole thing was fake. And it just is heartwarming to see that and to be a part of that. Okay, so the other thing I was in charge of was Heroes Warm-Up, because they're like, hey, you do CrossFit, come warm us up. I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And so I actually asked ChatGPT to give me a whole bunch of warm-ups that unfit 50-year-old nerd engineers could do, either from seated or standing up with very minimal warm-up. And it gave me a list. And I'm like, yes! I mean, I'm basically talking about myself, minus the ability to move. And some of the guys actually were pretty fit. Most of them, though, were, as you would expect. But several of them came out and said, yes, I do need to move. I've been sitting for 4 hours. I need to move. And that was great. So typically it was a hamstring and lower back. So we focused on that a lot. And I have got something for you. If you go to CrossFitGarage.com/free, you'll see our free resources. And there's a thing in there where it is, let's see, where is it? It is the how to work out at your desk, right? Yeah, exercise at your desk. So it's one of the red buttons you can click right there. And so I mentioned that to a bunch of them to go out and try to find that so that they could do some exercising or do some stuff at their desk because they sit all day. So some other things that I've started utilizing that I think they could use is someone mentioned to me, Andy, instead of making a handwritten or a typed out company book, why don't you just make videos? So for an example, when you decide, hey, I would like to use a 24/7 access at the gym, I send you a list of stuff. And one of them is a Word document that has a bunch of hot links, hyperlinks to private or unlisted YouTube videos so that you could, how do you turn on the light? See that. How to turn on the music, how to turn on the screens, how to start the fan. So it's a bunch of how-to videos on how to do everything, because why not? A video is so much easier to do. Anyway, they could have used that, I think, to let us know how to set things up and tear them down. They did some pictures, but I think a QR code that leads you to a video would have been a little bit better. So something for you guys out there doing setup and tear downs and want to train folks. I think QR codes to a video is a great way to do it. I think they also could have benefited from a motto or a statement. So for like my coaches, when you want to come coach at the garage, the mantra is the 3 F's: fun, fitness, and coaching. Yeah, I know it doesn't start with F, but it's fun. It's funny. So if they don't have fun, they're not coming back. If they don't get sweaty, they're not coming back. Once they start coming back and they enjoy it and they're having fun, then they're going to let you coach them. Some people take offense to being coached, which is crazy because you're paying for it, but some do, and I don't know why. So we take that part very slowly. And they could have had something like the lead would sit us down and give us some ideas, but would miss out on the opportunity for an overarching principle. Something like, our job is to make the DMs happy, who will then make the customers happy. Our job is to fulfill the requests, the reasonable requests quickly of the players, right? So there's 2 things. DMs should smile, players' requests should be fulfilled. That'd be an easy way to do it. But I don't know. I think operating on principles is much better than just trying to operate on rule sets. So a thing I do for my coaches is I will then do some coach to coach. So we coach you guys, but then I also try to bring everybody in to do some coaching for them. Is it 100% successful? No, but it's like a thing that I'm trying to show them to reinvest in them and to bring them along the journey of growing. So I think the D&D and a castle staff could have run an adventure, a one-shot, as they call it, for the staff of the castle, or maybe even just our staff. And I think that would have been interesting to pull us together into, hey, everybody's off, or most everybody's off, and we're going to do one shot together because we're all here because we enjoy D&D. So let's do this together. For example, I don't require, but I highly request that all the coaches do CrossFit with us. Not everybody can based on their schedule and classes and so forth, but it's highly requested. So here's another funny one that I think makes a lot of sense, but we all overlook it. Somebody had told me you can tell the quality of the CrossFit gym by the cleanliness of their toilets. Then I heard it in a bunch of other businesses. So it just goes to show you that you should clean the toilets, because if they're clean, you're probably keeping everything else clean. And we had toilet scenarios here at D&D in a Castle, and that went into my head like, hey, this is the place where we eat the most and everyone meets the most. So these toilets are going to get used the most. And it does not look like anybody's paying it attention. So I did not clean them. It's not my job, but I did bring it up to their staff saying, hey, you should probably do this. And I got a couple, hey, thank yous, because, yeah, it was getting, I mean, you have 50 people using the bathroom in there 3 times a day. And maybe it's not a lot, but it gets used a lot, and it's going to build up on the crud. So clean your bathrooms, guys. All right, here's another interesting one that was baffling to me. I see this now. Everyone was younger than me, all the way from I'm just about to get out of college to like mid-30s. They are way better recognizing emotional needs. I just would have put that on a shelf and not even brought it into the game. But the main leader did a great job of, the director, of asking folks, hey, how are you? A lot. And kind of gauging what to give them as a job based on kind of where he felt that they were, which is, again, awesome, and I would never do that. I tried to watch, and especially now as I get older, I'm trying harder to let emotions be valid. I guess not invalid. I don't know. It's like one of the girls, their marketing manager said, as I get older, I'm realizing I need to compartmentalize and just turn off my normal emotions while I'm at work, and then I can turn them back on later. I'm like, yes, that's what I do most of my life. And so is she right? Am I right? I don't know. But I did find it interesting that it was such a component of the environment. And I haven't worked with people as an underling in so long that I didn't know it. And so the way I do any of my businesses now is very transactional. And I'm working on bringing it there, not realizing how much maybe most people do. Anyway, so I just found that to be very interesting. And they would check in. I did mention a couple times, like, they're like, hey, can you read this out loud to the group? I'm like, no, but I can pre-read it and then summarize it in ad-lib because I'm dyslexic and reading out loud is not going to go well. So the guy's like, no, that's totally fine. I would love you to do it. That way it seems more natural. I'm like, perfect. So we were able to work around stuff. But then he would ask me, hey, I'm going to have you go count a bunch of stuff. Is that good with reversing numbers and letters? I'm like, no, that's fine. I've gotten over it. That's just what you do. When you're from the 80s and people tell you you're stupid, you just go, okay, let me fix that. And, you just don't let it be a thing. Okay, so then we're going to move into sort of a bit of connection. I got a couple more things here, but I'm going to start into the connection. So there was these 2 guys there. Let's just call them Tommy and Justin. Yeah. So Tommy, it's usually Timmy. So we just call it Timmy and Justin. So Timmy and Justin sat down near each other a lot, and they were painting miniatures on breaks a lot. And so I walked up to them. I was like, hey, you guys are around each other a lot. Do you guys already know each other? And like, yeah, we played D&D back home together. I'm like, oh, tell me the story of how you guys met. And they're like, sure. So actually, it's interesting. You were talking about connection while we were stretching, and I wanted to tell you this story anyway. He said, so I'm an engineer, duh, and I'm 50, duh, right? Most of the people were. And a fellow, we'll call him Mikey, calls me on the phone and says, hey, I've been working here for a while, and I've talked to you a lot, and I'm realizing that besides work, I don't really have any friends, and I would like to have better friendships. Would you be interested in just hanging out and going to lunch or dinner, once a week or every other week or something? And so Justin says, yes, I definitely would be interested in doing that. So he's thinking to himself, and he tells me this, we're not great friends, but if I'm the first person or one of the first person he reached out to, then that's eye-opening. And he said basically started reevaluating his life and his position. So anyway, fast forward, they started playing D&D, they found this other guy, and now Justin and Tommy are going to D&D in a castle together. So I don't know why the other guy didn't come, but he didn't come. So it's just fascinating that this epidemic of loneliness is for real and it is out there. And this guy was looking for connection. And he had to reach out. And it is unusual for us guys to do this. Women do this great. They find people, they talk to people. Now, on the other side, there is an Instagram reel or video that it's got these older, I don't know, maybe they're 35, and it says, if adults made friends like children. And so this husband and wife are sitting in a park bench next to a beach or maybe a lake, but it's got a little sandy bit. And there's a guy down there with a bunch of sandcastle forms making some sandcastles. And so he's just down there, like I said, 35-year-old doing the sandcastle thing. And the husband looks over to the wife and says, hey, I'm going to go play with him. And he runs off and he just runs up and stands there. And the guy on the ground, looks up, hands him a bucket, and he says, I'm making a castle. And the other guy grabs a bucket, and he goes, great, I'll help. And they just start building the sandcastle together, not talking or anything. And they keep doing clips or whatever. Then he goes, hey, do you have a house? He's like, I sure do. He's like, can I come over? And he's like, yeah, come on over. And then he runs back to his wife. He's like, hey, we got a play date with Mikey this afternoon. And so it's just funny and fascinating. And that is kind of how guys work. So let's see. It was Saturday. So yesterday we did our mountain biking thing. It's 8 a.m. We go to Blankets Creek. And Joe's leading us around Dwelling Loop. We get done. We're meeting in that little circle bit. And we're like, hey, let's probably do Van Michael. Sounds good. This guy bikes up and sees that we're all talking. And he's like, hey, are you guys together? Yes. And I'm sensationalizing the story. It didn't quite go like this, but it's more funny this way. Don't let facts interrupt a good story. So he says, hey, are you guys together? And we're like, yeah. He's like, I'm not exactly familiar with this trail. Which way does it go in this and that? And Joe says, oh, it does this. He said, well, it looks like y'all having a lot of fun, and you guys have bikes. And we're like, yeah, we have a bike. Do you have a bike? And he's like, yes, I'm actually on a bike right now. And he says, can I join you? And we're like, yeah, we come every 8 a.m. on Saturday. We come out biking. He's like, great. I'm going to come biking with you next weekend. We're like, okay, sure. See you next weekend. Bye. And he takes off. So it just reminds me of like in the 80s, we would show up. I'd go to David Napolitan's house on my bike and be like, hey, buddy, let's go do a thing. We'd go down the hill to Adrian Saganik, I think his name was, and we'd pick him up. We're like, all right, let's go to the next house. We just go around like collecting all the kids on bikes and just, I don't know, build ramps and jump over each other. And so here we are, 5 older dudes with money and nice bikes at a place to bike, jumping over stuff, not humans in this case, just roots. And some dude comes up that's new to the neighborhood and says, hey, can I play? And we're like, yeah, sure, let's play. And so we do our thing. That is how simple guys are. That's literally how it works for us. And so he and I have been texting. I'm going to try to get him to come into the gym. You guys should meet him. His name is Luis. It didn't go quite like that, but if you meet him out there at the gym, just say hello. Okay, that was kind of fun. Okay, here's another funny one. I've been in sales my whole life. I know what a sale is, and I know what order taking is. So one of the staff was sitting behind the merchandise desktop, whatever, the bench. And she says to the main guy, hey, I have sold 9 shirts. And smiling and proud, like I sold it, commissioned to me, right, or whatever. And so in my head, I'm like, you did not sell anything. These guys picked up a shirt and you took the order and wrote it in there. Selling something is totally different. So it was interesting to me, maybe because it's the career that I've had, or the youth that she had. A sale is not like for example, somebody walks into the gym and the coach says, hey, sign the waiver, go ahead and jump in. And they jump into class, they do a thing, and then they text me and say, hey, Andy, that was fun, I'm going to sign up. Did the coach sell them? I don't know. It kind of depends what happened, but I would say probably not. It was an order taking. The guy just showed up, right? On the other side, I would say this. Let's say a guy walks into the gym, a coach just got done coaching or working out or whatever, and he steps off to the side and starts to talk to the lead, the customer, about their goals, their needs, and answering questions, and then like drawing them in as well as educating them on what we're doing. Is that a sale? I would say yes. Now, it is a hot sale. The guy came in hot. He was looking for us. There's a warm sale. Someone gave us a lead. And there's a cold sale, which I don't think it has to be a cold to be a sale. I went out. I knocked on the door. I found the person and brought him in. No, that's a sale as well. But that's a cold lead versus a warm lead or a hot lead. So it was just interesting to see the perspective on what they were taking away from sitting down and doing. I wouldn't have considered that a sale at all. Does it matter? No, it's just some perspective. Oh, so yeah, and as a fun little side note, they have a shed up there that they would then pack everything into. And you had to Tetris it all back in because there was too much stuff to go in just haphazardly. And it was a dad's dream. I was like, yes, you want me to shove all this in and take my time and really like utilize space? I'm in. This is going to be great. One thing I mentioned is, hey, there's these dice tower. When you drop the dice down and it kind of like does a randomized roll, it makes lights and noise and whatever. I mentioned if they're going to be here for a year, you probably want to pop the batteries out. Otherwise, they're going to corrode. So note to all of you guys, if you put a thing away and you can, take the batteries out so you don't ruin the posts. Okay, so there's a bit of this leave your emotions at the door, I think is good to some degree. and this epidemic of loneliness. So I'm going to cover these last two bits, and we'll wrap this puppy up. But the mountain biking story is interesting, and I don't know where that really comes into our group. So I did some research on the epidemic of loneliness, and I'm going to listen to a few podcasts on it, but it's actually pretty interesting, and it's not something that's new or unusual. It's just new to me. So they say that the lack of meaningful social connections can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, increasing the risk of premature death, heart disease, stroke, dementia, depression, and anxiety. That's just nuts. And it's connection, you know, how you eat, sleep, move, think, and connect. It's just baffling. Potentially because of the advancements in technology, cell phone, internet, they're saying that that age group, like the 20-year-olds, 15 to 25-year-olds, are having like 70% reduction in social interactions than we would have categorized 2 decades ago, so 20 years ago. Which I can say, sure, 20 years ago would have been the year 2000, 2005. You were still on dial-up, I think. Maybe you could use some ISDN, but the high speed was really not that much of a thing. I guess ADSL was starting to roll out. I'm actually going to look this up. When was my first post on YouTube? I feel like it was 2008. I also feel like Facebook was like a 2008 thing. Yeah, okay. So my oldest video is 16 years ago. So yeah, 2008, 2009 actually. And it's actually about the CrossFit gym. So I didn't even use YouTube until back then. Let me click on this bad boy with no sound. How can I do that? Let me pause you guys and get it queued up. Okay, so it was a promo video I did back on my old computer, and it took like a day to process, and it's only a 2-minute video, and I think it took a day to actually render the video, and I threw in the soundtrack from Green Day, and this was banned for a very long time because of the soundtrack, and then they just did the copyright thing or whatever it was. But yeah, I don't know, it doesn't actually, oh, there it is. It says August 7th, 2008. Wow, so August 7th, so that would have been just before Evie was born. I got onto YouTube, and I think Facebook would have been like right after that. I couldn't find a way for it to tell me when I actually got on. Anyway, point is that there wasn't this lack of connection because we didn't have the tools to not connect. So you could even say doing these videos, this podcasting stuff is a lack of connection because you feel like you know me and that we are talking a lot. And I don't actually know you because you're not talking back. So sometimes that's tough when people come up and say, hey, that thing, da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, wait. Oh, yeah, that was in the podcast. So that's just a little bit tough. Anyway, I do like the connection we're driving into right now. Actually, let me play a thing for you. So this is a video. I got Louie, Randy, Jordan, and then I think next is Denny. Yeah, there's Denny. And then the last one is going to be Sam. And we went out biking. That was good connection. Oh, of course, Joe. Joe led us through everything. It was a lot of fun. We're going to be doing this all the time. If you're looking for more connection, come out there. Yes, it is true. When we mountain bike, we don't actually mountain bike together because everyone bikes at different speeds. But it is... well, actually 4 of us went to lunch or brunch or something afterwards and spent another like hour or 2 hours chit-chatting. It was great. So if you guys are looking for connection, yes, the gym is a great place to start. And then overlap the circles of your interests. I'm only currently doing the circle of things that I'm interested in. So somebody put on the whiteboard rock climbing. I think it might have been Jamie Thomas. And I put my name on it. Yes, I'm interested in that. I hurt my shoulder mountain biking, so I probably cannot mountain climb right now or rock climb at one of those gyms, but I'd still go and see everybody. But if we list the stuff up there and people can jot down names, we can make either group me's for that or just use the board. So increase your sphere of influence and step into an event. If there's something happening and you think you might be interested, just say yes and do it. If somebody invites you to a thing, say yes and do it. So while we were out there mountain biking and we're all together, Randy goes, let's keep it going. How about Sunday we go boating? And a couple of us are like, yeah, sounds interesting. Let's check on it, right? So now we get back to the reality of, hey, we're all kind of busy and we can't just do this twice in a row. Turns out I can. So me and Evan are going to hop in the boat with whoever can, and we're going to do a little boating with Randy and crew. So it's going to be awesome. I'm not the biggest boat person, but there's an invitation to hang out. There is time, and it is neat. So yeah, I'm in. It doesn't have to be specifically exactly your thing. I don't own a boat. Actually, it's great to not own a boat. I think the best times for a boat owner is when you buy it and when you sell it. And so anyway, we'll use his boat. So join in to get over the epidemic of loneliness. Reach out. Lean into the groups that you're already part of, or the groups of things that are already being done. For example, I like line dancing. Rather than recreating line dancing, go find places that do it and show up. And the last bit I'm going to end on here is the drop dead years. So the Brave AI report, Brave is just the browser I use. They say it's supposed to block more stuff. I don't know if it does. So they're saying that there's a guy, Bill Burr, who does the drop dead years. So it's a stand-up comedian that does this. I've heard it outside of him, so I don't know. Maybe that's just the most famous part of it. I'm not sure. But it is true. When men hit 50, they enter the drop dead years. How do we fix that? It's not complicated. It's how we eat, sleep, move, think, and connect. But it's not easy either. You have to show up. You have to show up for yourself. If you don't show up for yourself because you're working too hard or working for your family or doing all that stuff, eventually you're going to die. Probably early. Statistically, us men, only half of us make it to 72. That means every other person. If you're in the car, look to your left. Do you see a man in a car next to you? If you do, only one of you is making it to 72 or making it past 72. It's super sad. I'm 51. I'll be 52 shortly. It's on me tremendously. I feel like I'm pretty good on the first three, how you eat, sleep, and move. I'm working on think, and I'm working on connect. Do I have it down? No. Did I just have an argument with my daughter about these things? Yes. Was I trying to be helpful? Yes. Did she see me as helpful? No. So I still have a lot of work to do. But I feel the older I get, the more I realize the person I think I am is probably not who I actually am. And I need to work on adjustment to get to be that better person. Where conversely, I think a lot of older people drill down deeper into the stupid things that they really think and believe, and they lean way too heavily into it rather than saying, oh, I could be wrong. I don't know. Ask your spouse, am I wrong? Probably going to tell you yes. So do a thing about that. Guys, if you're here, and girls, y'all, if you're here in Woodstock, we were at CrossFit Garage. If you're not in Woodstock, we got garagefitness.online. If you don't have any of that, you can follow us for literally for free. If you go to our website and gym information and then go to WOD, that's workout of the day, we post our workout. At the bottom of the workout each day is the at-home option. So I don't have very many things. It assumes you have some dumbbells. You can do this at home. Do something. Move. If you want to hire me as your personal guide, you can. I am $1,000 an hour. Or track your food and your movement for 2 weeks, show it to me, and let's talk about it, and I'll work with you for free. Because having that data is actually going to answer all your problems, and you're not going to need me. Realize, though, if you're not local, I'm going to tell you, first thing you need to do is find a good gym that you can fit into, because these people are going to help you in real time with especially connection. So they'll be there in person. Yes, that's the first step. I'm going to tell everyone, even if you decide, yes, I'm going to hire you for $1,000 an hour, I can totally fix you up. You're probably not going to do the stuff I tell you, but I could. First step is going to be find a local gym to be part of and get into a better sphere of influence. You will be like the 5 people you hang out with. Make sure they're good people. All right, guys. Hey, this is Andy McCann, your host here on Food, Fitness, and Finance. I am here to help you lay a firm foundation in those 3 things. We'll do some finance next week, probably. Y'all take care. Oh, actually, I got to finish the series on those 5 things, so I guess it won't be next week. We'll do a couple other stuff. All right, y'all take care.